All right, welcome everyone to today's workshop. I am so passionate about this topic, how to leave your 9 to 5 and transition into working for yourself. There are lots of different ways you can do this, and we're going to get into all of it. But before we get started, I wanted to get to know the folks who are here today and just understand a little bit more where you're at in the process so that I can cater the presentation today to your needs. So I'd love to know in the chat, just drop where are you at in the employee to self-employment journey. So there's a lot of pieces in between. So are you A, you're employed and you're just dreaming about it, you don't have a business yet. B, you have a business, but you're not really making money. All right, Mary has A. C, you started a business and you're making some money, but not quite ready to leave your 9 to 5. Or D, something else. Maybe you've already left your 9 to 5, you want to make more money, something else in there. Okay, Natalia, C. Awesome. Started a business, bringing in some money. And again, there's lots of in between there, right? Natalia's making some money could be closer to just getting started, further along, ready to leave the job. Also, some people quit their job cold turkey and then move into just launching their business. So there's lots and lots of places you could be. So if you haven't dropped your thought yet and you want to, feel free to do that. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout this presentation. I hope this can be a conversation. I will have time for Q&A at the end, but if you have a question that pops up while I'm presenting, feel free to drop it in the chat and I'll just pause and answer that question. So today, again, is all about how to quit your 9 to 5 and work for yourself. So we're going to get into all the juicy details here. And when I'm talking about how to quit your 9 to 5 and work for yourself, I really want to focus on 3 things. And I hope that these things can be done in order, no matter where you're at, even if you are further along like Natalia. These things will still be really helpful, but especially if you are at the beginning stage, number 1 is going to be really important. So assessing if entrepreneurship is actually right for you. I'll give you some tips on how to do this assessment. Number 2, exploring the different self-employment paths, because there are lots of things you can do besides just growing a product-based business. You can have a service-based business. There's lots of different business models you can try. And then number 3, discovering the 5 steps to actually make that transition from employee to full-time business owner, quitting your 9 to 5. And I'll go through all of those steps in this presentation. Before we get in, a little bit more about me. If you haven't met me before, I'm Dr. Annie Cole. I'm the founder of Money Essentials for Women. And my story in a nutshell is in my 20s, I graduated, I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I started working as a social worker, making $26,000. I was barely getting by. I was on food stamps and really just could barely afford even my rent and my groceries. Decided in that moment, in those few years, that I needed to make a pivot, learned everything I could about finances and money. And then in my 30s, before I started my own business, was in this vice president role, had built a $1 million net worth and thought, I want to teach other women how to do this. So I founded Money Essentials for Women, and now I teach people how to do money as an adult. And I do a lot of free workshops like this so that people can really just learn for free and get the education they need to make more money. So my transition, and feel free to ask me some questions along the way. I'm happy to share details about this, but what I did to transition into self-employment, my journey started in January of 2024. So in January, right now it's June of 2025. So last year in January, I decided I had enough money in the bank and I was ready in my position with my job to transition into something more part-time. At that time, I didn't actually know I wanted to start a business, but I just told my boss, hey, I would love to go part-time and work as a contractor if you are open to it. So it took 6 months of working with my employer to set up that path. I didn't just give notice and suddenly go part-time. We worked together to create a path for me to transition to part-time work. So between January and June, I was still in my vice president role, but slowly we were handing off my responsibilities to other people and setting up a staffing situation so that I could go part-time. And then in June, I officially did go part-time and became a contractor. So I no longer was a full-time employee. I didn't have any benefits. I was just strictly working under a contract. And at that same time, I started my own business, this business, Money Essentials for Women. So I published a book, produced a lot of online courses, did one-on-one coaching. So there were lots of ways I started to bring in money, but I did that while also being part-time in my other job so that I could have supplemental income, which is something that I would highly, highly suggest if you do it. And then this year I've continued to work on Money Essentials, but I also just added my second business in March called Praxia Insights. So in my past job, my past life, I was a researcher. So I do financial education, but also do research on the side. I leverage Fiverr, Upwork, and a consulting website to get clients for that. So I'll talk a little bit more about how I also do lead generation, how I do marketing, how I bring in clients for my business. So today we're talking about quitting your 9 to 5 to work for yourself. I just want to be really clear that we are focusing on work, not on non-work passive income. So a lot of people will say how to reach financial freedom, how to quit your job. And you can do that by investing in the stock market, investing in real estate, and just create this passive income. Those are awesome things. I also do all of those things and I teach those things. But today's workshop is only about how to create business income. So we won't be talking about the stock market and real estate. If you are interested in those things, I'm going to send out the recording afterwards. Feel free to check out these QR codes. So stock market investing, I have a quick masterclass on how to invest in the stock market if you're interested in that. I have a free real estate investing guide. And then I also have a really great blog post all about affiliate and referral marketing. So those are 3 things that you might look at in addition to how to bring in business income. And then I also want to be really clear today, your why is your guide. So we're here because we want to create potentially a business and leave our 9 to 5. I did another workshop recently where we talked about side hustles, and there is a difference between side hustles and a business. So if we think about these 4 quadrants, the top left, I want fast cash. That's really side hustle focused. Top right, I want to test it out. This is maybe I want to start a business and maybe I want to become a freelancer. Bottom right, I just need out of my job. That might be more related to burnout or potentially just switching careers. And we're really going to focus on this bottom left quadrant, which is I know I want to start a business. So just want to be clear that there's all these different ways you can make money, from side hustles to investing, and really we're honing in on the business focus today. So let's dig into the content. We're going to go through these 3 sections. Is entrepreneurship right for you? Explore self-employment paths, and then the 5 steps to actually make the transition. So number 1 is assessing, and I always start with this because some people think, especially online, there's all of these social media about becoming an entrepreneur, working for yourself, and how amazing it is. It is amazing. I love working for myself. It's also a lot of work, and even though you have the most flexibility in the world, you also are never truly off because you are the owner of the business. So I just want to tell you some good questions to start asking yourself to think about what it's actually like to be an entrepreneur. So a couple FAQs, again, we're talking about business, but we're also talking about finances today. So I want to focus on money. Self-employment taxes. So just so you understand, when you are working for an employer, they are covering this portion of your tax. And when you become self-employed, you are going to be paying that 15.3% on your own. So this is going to be you paying an additional tax when you become self-employed. So some people will actually, if they think about the rate they were getting paid at work, they will maybe think about raising their rate to adjust to cover this tax amount. I'm not a tax expert. This is just my personal experience, and this is from the IRS what the current tax rate is. But I do have some tax specialists on our website if you want to talk with someone more in depth about this. Benefits. So when you leave your job, usually you are going to have to find insurance on your own. When you leave your job, you'll usually be offered COBRA for 1 year, which gives you extended access to your benefits. So for example, when I left my job and went contract, I didn't have access to my benefits anymore, but I did through COBRA for 1 year. So I did extend my health insurance for 1 year. And then once that expired, I moved on to my husband's health insurance. So just something to be thinking about. You'll be covering that cost yourself. And then retirement accounts. A lot of people think, well, once I am no longer employed, I can't contribute to a retirement account. Actually, you can. There are some really cool retirement accounts specifically for self-employed, both Roth accounts and regular traditional accounts. So lots and lots of options. You can still continue to contribute. And then the other thing to keep in mind, I always suggest set up your LLC if you're going to work for yourself right away. I don't care if you're making $100, $50, whatever it is. If you're starting down that path, it costs roughly $100 to set up this LLC. And what it does is it protects you. So it means you're a limited liability company. Basically, you're saying what you do as a business is separate from who you are as a person. So if you gave advice in that $100 coaching session and someone wanted to come after you for bad advice and you didn't have an LLC set up, that would give them more access to your personal assets, like your cash, your savings, your home, versus when you have an LLC set up, it's protecting you so that they can only come after you as a business entity. So Really, really important. Set that up right away, even if you haven't made a single dollar yet. And then when it comes to self-employment, obviously all of the pay is going to be a little different. So how you get paid will be different. How you find work is going to be very different. So you're going to be totally responsible for bringing in the work. And that might mean you're using, an online profile or your own marketing strategies. You get to determine your own pay rate. And then you also get to determine your schedule and your work type. So if we think about pay rate, this is like bare bones. How much do you need to make? If you are wanting to leave your 9 to 5, you need to know this number like the back of your hand. This is often called your freedom number or your FU number. It's the number that means I can quit my job. I have money coming in from another source that covers my needs. So really, really simply, you only need to know these 4 things. So you could do this on a piece of paper, do this on a spreadsheet, add up your must pay expenses. So think about what you must pay every single month, or things that pop up every year, like renewing car registration. So make sure you're adding up everything that's a must pay. Add in anything that's a minimum required debt payment, like a student loan payment or a credit card payment. Add in your benefits. So if you're self-employed, think about insurance costs or other things that might be added on top of what you currently have as an employed person. And then retirement or investment contributions. And once you have all that added up, you have your freedom number. So we're going to work today off of an example of someone who needs to make $100,000 or roughly $8,300 per month. This is becoming more and more of the norm for a couple to need to have this much money to live off of. So it might seem a little high, but that's the amount we're going to go for some of the examples today. So then finding work, you're going to want to think about, what would someone pay you to do? What is in demand? What do you like to do? And then what are you good at? So if you are just starting off, or if you're in business, but you're not really happy with what you're doing, you want to try something else out, I would start with these 4 questions, because you can create a massive list for 4 of these questions and then start to circle the ones that overlap. So maybe someone would pay you and it's in high demand to do graphic design, but you really hate it. You're good at it, but it's not something you want to do anymore. You really want to focus on writing. So what kind of writing is in demand? Would you do blog content for a busy business? You can start writing down answers to all of these things, circle the ones that are meeting all the needs, and that's how you can start to build your business. And then you're going to want to think about where you'll find those clients. So you could use a platform like Fiverr or Upwork, or you can do your own marketing and sales. So that could be using your own website or your own marketing strategy. I'll get into marketing strategies later. There are truly hundreds of things you could do to bring clients in the door. Keep in mind, if you use a platform like Fiverr or Upwork, they will charge an additional fee. Usually it's around 20%. So when someone pays you, let's say you did $1,000 contract, they'll usually take 20% of that to keep for themselves and then give you the $800 when they pay you out. So it's a great way to get extra clients in the door in the beginning, but it can be, you're going to lose a little bit of money because they're doing all the marketing on your behalf. And then pricing. So you're thinking about, is entrepreneurship right for me? How am I, I have my FU number, I have my freedom number. How am I going to price my actual services so that my business makes me the amount of money I need to make? So this is where we want to think about pricing your services and products that you might have as a part of your business. So you've thought about all those different things you're good at, things that are in demand. Then from there, I want you to think about, what are the current market rates for those things? You can do, use ChatGPT, do a little Google searching to find out market rates. Is it usually hourly? Is it flat rate? Do people usually pay a project rate for this thing? Let's say you want to become a book editor. You love helping people publish their books. Do people usually pay by the hour for that? Or do they pay a flat fee? Do they pay per page? So that's the kind of stuff you want to think about when you're trying to turn your service or product into a payment. And then how is the service or product actually being delivered? So editing, for example, do you usually tell someone, I'm going to edit your entire manuscript, you'll pay me by the page, I'll return it with line by line editing in a Google Doc? Or do you send a summary report, or do you send a quick video with suggestions? So try to do some research on how people are actually getting that service or product. So a couple examples down here. Again, we're working off this example of someone who their freedom number, they want to make $100,000 a year, which comes out to $8,300 roughly a month. So if you were doing one-on-one coaching, at $150 per hour, we'll just do the math, that comes out to working 14 hours per week, which is not bad at all. So this is just a great example of seeing, okay, this is how much I'd have to work, this is what the pay rate would be. And for 14 hours, that means 14 clients every single week. So does that mean you're going to get repeat clients? Does that mean you're actually going to bring in 14 new clients? That's a lot of client acquisition. So you're also starting to think about how all these pieces work together. Social media work. So let's say you want to explore being a VA and it'd be a flat fee, $3,000 per month to manage some clients' social media. In this case, you only need 3 clients, and maybe this is a lot more viable for you because you think, well, most of the time, if I do a good job, they're going to keep me around. So I'm going to have clients that repeat. It'd be really easy. I only need 3 clients, and I'm suddenly going to have $9,000, so I'm above my need. And once I get the clients, they stick around, and they're more likely to also give me referrals. So you're just thinking about, what are you interested in? What is the pay? How does this translate into actually meeting your income needs? And then finally, your work schedule. So reflect on, do I like working alone? Am I going to be okay working every single morning, getting up and working on my own, on my business? How will I build community? So even if you like working alone, we all need to connect with someone. Will you work with previous coworkers? Will you build your own community? Will you plug into a mentorship community? How will I create that work-life balance? Are you good at creating work-life balance? Will you cut yourself off at the end of the day? Create blocks in your calendar to make sure you're not overworking when you become self-employed. And then task switching. This is a huge one. I think self-employed folks underestimate this. If you're doing something like one-on-one coaching where you just do an hour of coaching, you are switching from one client to another over and over and over all day long. So it's very different when you're employed. If you wake up and you're working for 8 hours, you're working continuously, most likely on something similar, versus when you start to work for yourself and you have a lot of different clients, that can be very mentally taxing. So just think about how to set yourself up in a way that's not going to exhaust you. And then finally ask yourself, am I trying to build a long-term business or just get out of my current job? I always want people to think about this because sometimes we're so burnt out in our job, we just want out. Self-employment may or may not be the answer. Self-employment should be something that you are chasing as a thing, not something to escape your job. So if you are thinking, I just need to escape my job, really reflect and say, what do I want to leave about my job? Is it possible that I need to get another employment opportunity, or is entrepreneurship really right for me? So do that reflective work before you start digging into actually building that business. And just a few things from my lived experience, the growth stage. So if you're just getting started, there will be some months where you might not make money right away. I know a lot of people online will show screenshots of making money really fast, but the norm is that it will take you a couple of months to actually make money and bring in clients. So give yourself some wiggle room to either have your employment during that time, which is great to just start dipping your toe in while you're still employed, or giving yourself some, seeing how much you have in savings or other financial resources you can use to cover your expenses while you're building it up. Love what you do. This is also huge. When you start working for yourself, you want to get up in the morning and actually enjoy what you're doing. You're going to be putting in a lot of work. So don't do all of this work for something that you don't truly enjoy. The passion is what's going to keep you going. Number 3, you need to love marketing and sales. A lot of people don't realize this. They think, I love nutrition, so I just want to become a nutritionist. I want to work one-on-one with clients. That's awesome. When you work for an employer, they will give you the clients and you will be just doing that work of coaching or, counseling. When you become self-employed, you have to bring in the clients. So you're going to spend a ton of your time, especially up front, marketing your services, talking to people, selling people on your product. So if you don't like marketing and sales, you may have a hard time actually making your own business run. You can always hire people for this, but again, upfront, if you don't have a lot of financing, you're going to want to do all that work yourself. And then upfront costs and funding, I'll give an example of this in a minute, but think about what the upfront cost will be specifically. Create a list of these so you know how much you're going to be spending to get your business off the ground. You really don't need a lot of money. I'm telling you, you can set up your LLC for about $100. You can set up a free website, a free Gmail. You could do it almost for free, but you may want to buy some things to also get your business off the ground. And this is what I'm talking about. So we have our launching costs. We have the middle phase where you start to get sales. And then we have the full-time businesses running, things are going great. So launching costs, these are the minimum things you're gonna wanna think about when you get started. Number one is a website. And actually, I tell people that a website is optional. You don't have to have a website, but it does build a lot of credibility and you can set one up for free. I think Wix and Weebly are the two that I recommend that are absolutely free that you can get started with. You can always opt into a premium version with more features down the road. But minimum website, one social media account, so either a LinkedIn page or an Instagram page. This is where you're going to be able to post content and start doing some marketing. Email, you can set up a Gmail, but if possible, if you set up a website, I highly recommend using a domain-based email, which just means you're using the URL of your website in your email. So if your website is marketing consultant, then your email should be Annie@marketingconsultant.com. It's gonna get better deliverability and be marked less as spam if you have a domain-based email. So start with Gmail if you need, but the domain-based email is gonna be really great moving forward. Set up a calendar. This again can be your Gmail calendar. Calendly also has a free version, I think, for one calendar. So you can do Calendly for free for scheduling. Payment processor, I use Stripe. There's lots of options out there, but Stripe is free to set up. And then you only pay a small fee of what you process. So again, you can set that up for free and then your LLC. If you set that up, you can, for $100, you can get started with your business. It's that simple. And then from there, think about if you need to pay for anything for product development, marketing, and staffing right off the bat. And then when you move into the middle phase, your upfront costs are done. Some upfront costs are going to be recurring, and then you'll start to have some income coming in to cover your expenses. And you may still be using your savings for your job income. So this is kind of that in between where you're starting to make some money in your business, but you're not ready to leave your job yet because you still need to have some income to cover the bills. And then once you get into this full-time business phase, you have those reoccurring expenses really down pat, you know what they are. You're potentially ready to scale. So you're going to have these new costs who will help you grow your business. So staffing, product development, etc. And then you have enough to cover your own expenses so you can leave your 9 to 5. Okay, so section number 2, we're going to explore different self-employment paths. So this is just thinking about how, what would I actually be doing? How would I do it to make money? So in this section, a lot of people just try to jump into something fast. Again, if you're burnout on your job, or you just think about something and you jump right in without really coming up with a business plan, you might pick something that's not really sustainable or isn't something that you really love. So what we want to do is take this right approach, pick the right work, and pick something that can be sustainable and long-term. When it comes to business, there's so many people who just jump into business fast and want to make fast money. But if you do it right and you build a strong foundation, your business can make you money for years to come. So we really want to do the right thing that fits with us. So start thinking about, again, these are just some good reflection questions. What are you good at? What's your current job, your degrees? What can you teach others? Previous jobs, what other people complement? Your hobbies, things you love to engage in. If you don't know what you want to do for your business or you're thinking about pivoting, just come back to this video and write down as many things as possible that you come up with in this section, because this will give you just tons and tons of insight. And then ask yourself a couple of questions. So I think we talked about this before, but are you prioritizing the money or the expertise? So something you like over something that makes good money. The graphic design was the example. So if you really like graphic design and you're good at it, you like doing it, that's a great fit because it's going to be great money and you like it. It could also be that you're really good at it, but you don't necessarily love it. So that's kind of the line of where that might not be the best thing to lean into because it's not something that you really, really love to do. Am I building something long-term? Again, we want to be thinking long-term, not just a temporary income stream. So you want to think about how you can pay a little bit upfront to really build that strong foundation and then grow over time. And then again, think about, is business the best approach? Or could I potentially, if I just need more income, is it getting a different job, getting a promotion at work, contract work, part-time work? There's lots of things you could do alternatively. So just make sure business really is the route you want to go. And then I just want to pause here to encourage you, doing this exploration work now is what's going to set you up for success. Again, so many business owners jump in, they end up quitting a few months in because they're not making immediate money. Business is a long-term vision. You want to be doing this for the long run. And if you set yourself up strong and pick the right things, you're going to have a lot more success. So going into the final phase, this is where I really want to talk about action. So taking action, there's 5 steps that would go from I am just employed, I'm thinking about building business, to I have quit my job, I'm building and working the sustainable business. So we're going to go through all 5 of those steps now, and then we'll go into a Q&A section. So these are the 5 steps. Number 1, you want to have a mini business plan. This is going to be your, roadmap to your business. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this in a very, very simple way. And then number 2, you're just going to test the plan. You're going to go out, see if it works, actually run the business, see if you can make money. This is where you get to do this without quitting your 9 to 5. And there's really no risk. You're just putting yourself out there, testing it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you can pivot. And then as you're doing that, you move into number 3, which is refining your business plan. So if it's not working, you're going to talk about what isn't working. Is it the product? Is it the marketing? Is it the sales process or the pricing? So we'll get into that a little bit. Then if it runs well, which is what we're hoping for, you're going to transition out of your 9 to 5 and into stage 5, which is building that sustainable business that you can keep for the long run. So business planning. There are only about 6 things you need to do. Business plans can be extremely complex. People will spend tens of thousands of dollars and work with consultants to build a business plan, but this is really all you need to get started. So number 1, what's the problem you're solving? What is the thing you're going to do? So in this example, we have creating websites for newbies. So you're just building websites. That's what you've decided you want to do. That's the problem you're solving. Who are you solving it for? Nutritionists. In this example, you are a nutritionist. You built your own website from the ground up. You know that other nutritionists are experts in nutrition, but they're not experts in websites. So you want to help them, and that's your passion. How are you solving it? So UVP stands for unique value proposition. That's when you're saying, I'm different than other people out there. I'm different in a way that's going to help you in a very specialized way. This is going to help with your marketing and also help people to pay you versus your competitor. So your UVP in this example, you're building an entire website, you're doing it for them, and you're a former nutritionist. So other people out there might be great at building websites, but they didn't actually do it as a nutritionist. So that's your UVP. Features and pricing. So this is just how much will you charge and how will you do it. In this case, you say, I only want to do full website builds. I'm not going to do like just revamping a front homepage. I'm going to do a full website and I'm going to charge $2,000 every time I do it. How will you sell it? So you have to have a way you actually get people to pay you. I'm going to have a user journey where I invite people to set up a consultation for free. I spend 30 minutes with them. I build trust. I tell them about my services, and then I pitch them at the end. And then if they say yes, I will build their entire website in 30 days. I know that 30 days is roughly how long it takes me to build a home page, an about page, and a service page. So that's what's going to be included, and that's how long it will take me. And then how you'll market it. So how you'll get it in front of people. There are tons of ways to do this, but in this example, let's say this person wants to run online ads. They target them on Facebook specifically towards other nutritionists, and they say, need to build a website. I'm a nutrition expert who also built a beautiful website. Let me help you out. So this is all you need. People make business models and business planning really complex. There's a lot more you can get into, but if you're just getting started, just focus on this. This will give you tons to go off of, and you'll be able to truly start building your business. This is a very scribbly image, so I apologize for the quality here, but this book is awesome. You can find it on Thrift Books for probably $4. $1 Million Weekend. There are so many tips in there about how to get your business off the ground. So if you want to start a new business, it just has great examples of a little bit more detail on business planning, product development, marketing. So I highly recommend it for a couple bucks just to buy a copy. Not affiliated. I just read it and really, really love it. And then the testing phase. So you have a business model. Now you're thinking, well, how the heck do I get clients? What do I even do? These are the things you need to do very, very simply. So create a place for people to work with you and then tell people about it. That's it. So how do you create a place for people to work with you? You need a website or an info page. So again, Wix and Weebly are completely free. You can also, I love system.io because it's free and has a lot of features in the free version, and then you can upgrade later. System.io is a CRM, email, and funnel builder all in one. There's a lot of other options, Thrivecart, ConvertKit. They're kind of these all-in-one platforms so you can get your email set up, send out automations, and have info and sales pages, and then connect it to your payment processor. So explore at least where do you want to tell people about your stuff. So website or info page, email, again, either set up a Gmail specifically for your business. If you can, you want it to be different from your personal email just to start building that credibility and separate it a little bit. Or that domain-based email. If you do buy a website domain, have, Annie at Money Essentials. Social media account, I recommend doing at least one Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook. One of those three is great. If you want to do a couple, you can. Calendar and payment processor, again, I use Stripe, but there are a ton out there. Just basically, how are people going to pay you? You can do Venmo if you want. But again, think about your credibility. If you're asking people to pay through PayPal or Venmo, it might feel a little less credible than if you're using something like Stripe. And then get your LLC set up. Once you have those things, you are ready to go. And now you just want to tell people about it. So tell your network. If you can, tell people in your network, this can be confidentially or privately if you still have a job. Invite people to actually experience what it is you are offering in exchange for a testimonial. Testimonials are huge for credibility building. So if you're new in business, you're going to want to get a couple testimonials under your belt. And then, of course, ask those people for permission to post their testimonial, a written testimonial. Videos are really good also. And if you can get their name and their photo to be included, it just shows that this was an actual person. So if you are, a weight loss coach and you have someone go through your program and then you show before and after photos, that's going to be hugely credibility building for you. So start with your network, give some free trials and testimonials to get some work under your belt. You can try charging people a low fee if you want, but free is always great just to get those testimonials started. And then from there, start with your social channels. So start posting content on your social channels. This is just organic content. It's completely free. It's a great way to get people in the door. And this is how you're going to start getting the word out there about your business. If you are still working for your 9 to 5 and this makes you nervous, you can totally set up a business page that just goes to your website. So you don't have to have your name on it. You can set up a business name for your Instagram, for example. Your link in bio is going to link to your website, and that just says contact and leads to your contact. Your email could even be contact@marketingessentials.com. So your name is not even associated with any of it. That's a great way to keep that anonymity while you're getting started. So there are ways to still create content and put yourself out there without, going on LinkedIn and doing this on your personal profile. A lot of times people get stuck at the stage because they don't know how to bring in clients. So they have a great idea for their business. You're a career coach, for example, and you are like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to review someone's resume and get someone to buy. You have no idea. You're posting on social media and nothing's happening. There are so many more ways you can get clients in the door. I put the QR code at the bottom here. I actually created a program called the How to Get Clients program that teaches you actually how to bring clients in the door, because I've had so many of my clients ask me how to do this. So feel free to check that out if you want. But on the screen, I have a bunch of examples. PR is just when you go get featured on someone else's highly credible website or platform. So I do a lot of features for Go Banking Rates, for example, because that's a highly rated platform related to finance. Podcast interviews, SEO, blog content, email newsletters. I'll let you read through this, but tons and tons of ways you can start leaning into how to market yourself and how to get yourself on different channels. And then as you do this, don't forget to actually monitor your numbers. So if you're going on podcasts and it's resulting in 0 clients, maybe that's not the best channel for you. And then maybe every time you send out a newsletter, you make a sale. So monitor what's actually working and lean into the channels that are working for you. And then remember, this really is the make it or break it stage. So especially, let's say you have your 9 to 5, you built your website, you set up your email, your marketing, and crickets, nothing's happening. So a lot of people will either figure out what works or they'll break down and they'll quit. This is where you see if you like it. Do you actually like being an entrepreneur? You'll see if you like sales and marketing. Again, this is where you really learn, do you like being a business owner versus doing the thing that you love, your service or your product? You can do all of this without quitting your job, which is what I highly, highly recommend. And then remember to push through this phase because it does usually take a few months to get yourself up and running. It's normal for it to take 3 months, even maybe 5 or 6 months to get your first client. It ranges for everyone. So think about what's working, what you need to shift, work with a mentor. That's something I would highly recommend. If it's not working, they can help you point out what to change. The positives in this phase, though, is that you're going to learn a ton. You're going to make shifts. You may even have, a service that you give to someone. They give you feedback and say, hey, that was helpful, but it would have been more helpful if you did this. So you're going to shift your products and your offerings based on what people are telling you as you start getting clients. And you might even pivot to a new venture. Let's say you did start a business in graphic design and you're like, actually, I worked with a couple of clients. I don't like this. I really like the writing part of it. I'd rather create blog content for a website, a business. So you will pivot over time. You'll find what you like, and it may change, and that's totally. So then step 3, refine the plan. So you have something that is working a little bit. This is where you want to figure out what's working and really hone into it. So if you reach this stage, it means you're making some money. So Natalia, I know you said you're making some money. You're here. This is awesome. So this is where you want to figure out how to get to the next level. What's working, what's not working. So there's a lot more things you can look through, but I just have a couple examples on the screen here. Lead gen. Where are your people coming from? How can you lean more into what's working? Is it word of mouth referrals? Is it affiliate referrals? Is it Instagram? Is it your blog? Whatever it is, lean into what's working. Service and product. What's the best seller? If you have a couple products, what's not selling at all? What needs refinement? What needs to be dropped? What's working within your product suite? And then time. Are you taking on more clients or more admin work? Be really cautious when you're a business owner. Taking on a lot of admin work, you might spend hours tweaking your website, which is fine. We all do that, but just be careful because you can get caught spending 10 plus hours just doing tiny things that aren't really moving the needle in your business. So do a time audit to see where your time is going. And if you're doing things that are moving the needle versus potentially doing something that you need to outsource to a VA or just let go of. So lean into what's going well, change what's not. And then at this stage, if you're not sure how to push forward, definitely look for mentorship. This is where I've had a lot of success, reading books or listening to podcasts, do lots of things that are free, or pay for mentorship to help you get to that next level, whether that's sales improvement, lead gen improvement, whatever it is. In this stage, also look out for imposter syndrome. A lot of times if we just get started, but we're not making a ton, we can start to blame it on ourselves. Like, oh, I'm not meant to be a business owner, or it's so hard. I'm just not cut out for this. It is hard. It's hard for everyone. Even the best entrepreneurs struggle. So I would just say, like, the imposter syndrome is real. It's normal. It doesn't mean you're a failure or that you're not cut out for this. Shiny object syndrome. This is where something is going good in your business, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to do this over here. I'm going to do this over here. Be really careful not to just create product after product or new business after new business, or I'm going to shift today, I'm going to shift again, I'm going to shift my content. Consistency is key because if you want to build an audience and people getting to know you for something, they need to know that you are consistent and you are what you say you are. So just be really careful not to be pivoting too much or too fast for your audience's sake. And then staying stuck in side hustle mode. This is where you never actually name your work as a business. A lot of people will say, oh, I just have this side hustle and my 9 to 5. Is that what you want? Do you want to have a side hustle, or do you want to leave your 9 to 5 and have a full-time business? So call it what it is. And there's something really powerful about words. When we say, I have a business, I'm growing this business, eventually I'm going to have a full-time business. That's different than saying, I just have this side hustle, where we're kind of keeping it small and we're actually mentally even saying it's okay that we're making not that much money. It's okay to be bold and say, I want to have a business. I want to make this much money in that business. And then step 4, we have crossed the line. This is where we are quitting our day job, moving into our business. So the moment you've been waiting for, when should I make the move? A lot of people will ask this, well, should I quit my 9 to 5? Should I go all into my business? I think there are 2 times you should do this. So number 1, your business income is meeting your FU number. You're completely hitting your income goals, or your business is trending towards it. It's a lot of work. Anyone in this room who has done business before knows it's a ton of work to get your business up and running. And then once you start getting clients, it's even more work. So doing that on top of your 9 to 5 is a lot. So maybe you are not quite to your FU number, but you know you have enough in your savings to cover 3 months worth of the gap. Maybe it's time to quit so that you can put yourself in and start pouring more time into bringing on more clients. So you may hit a point that it's close enough that it's ready to go. I don't recommend that you just quit your job and start your business cold turkey. I know tons of people who have done that though, and they were successful. So it's not impossible. It's just not something that I recommend, mostly because as a financial coach, I would say when you don't have any money, you're in fight or flight mode and you're going to be basically running out of a fear state. And so you may find that your marketing and sales strategies are impacted by that. You may be a little pushy in your sales or act in a way that's not authentic to yourself because you need money. So that's the benefit of keeping your 9 to 5. It allows you to run your business in a way that is an added plus. It's you have all this room to build because you have income coming in. So it's actually like a personal human safety issue that we may act out of if we quit too early and just, have to force sales to happen. So during this phase, if you leave your job, don't burn bridges. You never know when you might want to go back to employment. I know lots of people that they do a mix. They have their own business. They take part-time work. They do contract work. They go back to full-time employment. There's nothing wrong with that. So don't burn bridges just in case you do want to do that down the road. Embrace the fear of failure. When you quit your job and you go all out on your own, there's going to be this moment of kind of shock and realization and fear and all the things, and that's totally normal. Update your online profiles to your comfort level. So it took me a while to actually post on my LinkedIn, for example, then I was running my business, especially since I was still employed contractually with my employer. Do that at your comfort level, whenever it feels good to you. Again, there's lots of ways to build your business and stay anonymous and keep your regular profiles the same. And then tell people about your move also at your comfort level. So tell people in your network, they're going to be your best advocates. They already know you. They may be able to refer you clients. So reach out to people in the DMs, make it private and confidential, but start telling people about what you're doing. And then once you have a sustainable business is running smoothly, what next? Again, we're going to look at the growth phase. So this is things are going well. I want to keep growing. A lot of people will call this scaling the business. So this is where you have a couple options. Either you want to stay consistent. So this comes back to your vision. What do you want to get out of your business? I know lots of people that are a one-stop shop. They just run their own self-employment business and they don't have any staff. They don't ever want to have staff. They just want to do their own work and make it come on their own. So think about that. Is that what you want to just have your first business? Or do you want to grow and become this bigger business? Somewhere where you are working with a team, you hire staff, you have multiple products, you maybe have brick and mortar in-person locations all over the place. How do you want to see your business grow? And there's nothing wrong with either of these. They're just very different approaches, and you want to be thoughtful about that. Revenue, how much do you want to grow in your revenue? This could be looking at profit margins. So if you're making so much off of a specific product or service, can you raise your price over time as you build credibility and demand to make more money off of the same service? Or do you want to think about your pricing model in general and maybe switch up how you approach pricing, like with a freemium to paid version or something like that? And then lead gen, how is your marketing and sales going? How are people finding you? How do you want to expand that? And that could intersect with staffing. So maybe you're doing all of your marketing, you're getting exhausted, but you have enough money coming in that now you say, I'm going to hire a full-time marketing director and that person will run my marketing so that I can lean more into client and product development. So always be learning, find your tribe of mentors, find those people that you feel like you can depend on, who will really support you, truly want to see you succeed, and they'll help you through this growth phase. All right, so again, your self-employment happiness is directly connected to your upfront planning. We talked about so many things today, and all of this is hopefully getting you thinking really intentionally, because I think my greatest passion for all of you is that you don't just jump into starting a business like a lot of people online are doing these days, just to try to make a quick buck. You're gonna have so much more fun and have long-term wealth if you do it the right way and build a really sustainable business. So take the time to follow all these directions, set it up, make a solid foundation, and you'll have a ton of success. All right, so we're at 45 after, we have 15 minutes left. I would love to just open it up. I am an open book. Ask me questions, come off mute, drop them in the chat. What do you all want to know? I see a question from Natalia.
Hi, Annie. Hi, everybody. I'm based in UK, and I was wondering if you support UK as well as US. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep. I actually I recently spoke with a group of business owners in the UK. Yeah, so I would say I work with clients all over the US actually. So a lot of them are or all over the globe. A lot of them are non-US based. So we could definitely connect and work together. There are some minor differences, but when it comes to major business planning and stuff, a lot of it's the same.
Yeah, I thought the same. It's more like a difference on insurances and business setup in general. But so just a little bit about my business. I set up as LTD, which is I'm not sure what equivalent to US, but it's a company rather than being self-employed. So of course, certain responsibilities to the government within the company. But yeah, that's why I thought, it's a bit different in terms of the setup and some sort of questions I can have. But yeah, thank you so much, Emily. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. And for anyone listening, so for the US, so when you set up your business, you might set yourself up. The minimum is usually an LLC. So LLC is limited liability company. It's just like I said, it's the making sure that if you just started working and someone paid you tomorrow, you would be considered self-employed as far as tax purposes for that income, but you would have no protection. So you would have made money as a self-employed person because you made money if you recorded it and you reported it. But once you become an LLC, you are protecting yourself and your business becomes an LLC as an entity rather than just you as a person making money. And then, like you're saying, Natalia, you can change. So you can you can switch. So instead of being an LLC, you can become a C Corp, which is a corporation. So big businesses are usually C Corp. And then you can become an S Corp as a single employee. And there are some benefits to that. So for example, when you're an S Corp, you have your business and then you have yourself, and this person takes a draw from the company. So the draw has different tax implications as a salary than just you being the entity and making all the money. So usually my tax professional, my CPA suggested when you make about $100,000, the tax benefits are there to switch to becoming an S Corp versus an LLC. If you make less than 100,000, he said LLC is the way to go, but there's probably some similarities. Okay.
Probably. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's too complicated for me as well. So
I
yeah,
know.
I still have a question. I'm trying just to follow every email that they send me.
I know. That's the thing. I do have some information on our website about the different setups, but honestly, I would recommend if you have any questions about that kind of stuff, just work with your CPA because they're going to be so helpful. That's what I always do. I just call him up and say, "Tell me what to do." You know, you're the professional.
Very true. Thank you.
Yeah. Jean and Mary would love to know anything that's on your mind. Feel free to drop in the chat or come off mute if you have any questions. All right, folks, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. So if you do have anything else, feel free to email me after this. I will be sending out the recording via email, so you can always reply to that, and then the full recording will be there with some resources. I will wrap up today just by plugging Money Essentials, my website, so you can go back there. Again, tons and tons of free resources. That's my goal. I do obviously have some products and things that I sell, but a lot of what we do is just free information for women to help you figure out how to make the money you want to make. So my book, 101 Ways to Build Wealth, is available here. We also have blog content. We have tons of additional upcoming events. So please keep registering for those events. I have so many amazing guest speakers that are coming up to talk about, especially for business owners, how to generate leads, how to make more money, how to make your business work, which I'm really excited about. And then we do have a whole directory of one-on-one experts. So you can find a CPA, an attorney, a financial planning specialist, a business coach. They're all on the website. So if you head over to moneyessentials.com, you'll find it all there. And then my socials are there. I'll be sending you an email if you want to contact me. Otherwise, thank you all for coming. I really, really appreciate it. It was so much fun to chat with you today. Take care, and I wish you just a wonderful week.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Annie.
everyone.
So to you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.